I am Dr. Henri Colt, and this presentation is part of Bronchoscopy Academy, an ongoing competency-based curriculum in flexible bronchoscopy. The goal of this work is to improve procedural understanding, anatomical recognition, and clinical judgment while helping reduce patient suffering associated with unequal expertise and inconsistent training. In this lecture, we will review the bronchoscopy report. A bronchoscopy procedure does not end when the bronchoscope is withdrawn. In many ways, the report is its final procedural act. It is the permanent record of what was seen, what was done, what was sampled, what was interpreted, and what now must be understood by others. The quality of the report directly affects continuity of care and communication among physicians. A poorly constructed report creates ambiguity. A careful report creates shared understanding. The bronchoscopy report should never be viewed as a bureaucratic requirement or administrative task. It is a true clinical narrative. It should contain enough detail so that other physicians reading it later, and perhaps never having seen the airway directly, can reconstruct the procedure mentally and understand the findings clearly. Importantly, there is rarely harm in providing more relevant detail, but insufficient detail may create confusion, misinterpretation, or loss of clinically important information. Every bronchoscopy report begins with the fundamental procedural framework: patient identification, indications, relevant clinical history, the procedures performed, sedation and topical anesthesia administered. But beyond these formal elements lies something more important: the organization. An airway examination should proceed in a logical sequence, and the report should describe the route of bronchoscope introduction, followed by examination of the nasopharynx, hypopharynx, larynx, vocal cords, subglottis, trachea, carina, and segmental bronchi. The reader should feel guided through the airway in an orderly and predictable fashion. A bronchoscopy report should not feel chaotic. It should feel structured, deliberate, and coherent. One of the most important principles in bronchoscopy reporting is that the report should tell a story. That way, everyone reads it the same way. This requires descriptive discipline. When we describe airway morphology, we describe caliber, patency, shape, dynamic motion, and normal variations. When we describe mucosa, we comment on the color, texture, fragility, vascularity, and irregularity. When we describe abnormalities, we must specify location, type, extent, and associated findings. And when we describe secretions, we characterize their amount, their appearance, color, consistency, and distribution. Our goal is to be precise. This lesson focused particularly on mucosal findings, secretions, and the recognition of common abnormalities. Initially, these may seem relatively simple observational tasks, but in bronchoscopy, careful observation forms the foundation for diagnostic reasoning. The experienced bronchoscopist learns to recognize subtle differences in color, contour, swelling, vascularity, tissue quality, and even airway dynamics. Visual literacy develops gradually through repetition and disciplined attention. Mucosal interpretation during bronchoscopy is inherently imperfect. Color depends not only on pathology, but also on lighting, video processors, screen calibration, scope quality, and image resolution. Normal mucosa is typically pale pink and slightly reflective when illuminated. Yet even minimal procedural contact may alter its appearance. Pressure from the bronchoscope may produce blanching or whiteout. Suction may create erythema, ecchymosis, hyperemia, or bleeding. Not every abnormal appearance represents disease. Sometimes the bronchoscope or the bronchoscopist creates the finding. Understanding this distinction requires technical awareness and humility. These next examples demonstrate various mucosal abnormalities encountered during bronchoscopy. Erythema often reflects inflammation, but many patients with chronic pulmonary disease exhibit persistent low-grade airway inflammation even in the absence of acute infection. Edema may narrow the airway lumen and alter normal contour. Hypervascularity and neovascularization may suggest chronic inflammation, irritation, or neoplastic processes. Anthracotic pigmentation reflects environmental exposure and prior inhalational injury. Petechiae, friability, suction trauma, and irregular mucosal surfaces all require careful characterization. Importantly, bronchoscopy is not merely about recognizing dramatic lesions. It's about appreciating subtle abnormalities and describing them accurately. The bronchoscopist learns through pattern recognition. Airway secretions also contain important clinical information. Normal airways generally contain little mucus or only small amounts of clear, frothy secretions. In diseased states, however, secretions may become abundant, purulent, thick, tenacious, bloody, or localized to particular bronchial segments. Their appearance may reflect bronchitis, pneumonia, aspiration, asthma, mucus plugging, post-obstructive processes, or impaired clearance mechanisms. Importantly, they must be described systematically. Their color, their amount, their consistency, their location. A vague statement such as secretions present provides little useful information. A careful description creates the diagnostic contents and is crucial to differential diagnosis. This example demonstrates an important reporting principle. Findings should be described objectively and anatomically, rather than emotionally or based on an impression. Instead of saying the airway looks bad, the report should specify the actual observation: hypervascular mucosa, thick yellow distal secretions, overlying cartilaginous rings. Indeed, a precise description improves communication and it reduces interpretive ambiguity. These final examples review additional airway abnormalities commonly encountered. Subglottic stenosis may appear web-like or circumferential. Endobronchial tumors may be necrotic, nodular, infiltrative, or obstructive. Extrinsic compression may distort the airway from outside the bronchial wall, sometimes reflecting malignancy or adjacent structural disease. Volume loss alters airway geometry and may reflect atelectasis, pleural disease, or obstruction. The important point is this: bronchoscopy findings rarely exist in isolation. Every abnormality must be interpreted within anatomical, physiological, radiographic, and clinical contexts. The report, therefore, is integrated and is much more than a list of findings. It becomes the enduring memory of the procedure itself. Bronchoscopy Academy is part of an ongoing competency-based approach to bronchoscopy education. Our goal is to reduce patient suffering caused by unequal procedural expertise, inconsistent training, and preventable error. Additional educational resources, reflective essays, and narrated lectures are available at bronchoscopy.org and henricolt.substack.com.